Yesterday, I fed a starving lynx. Today, she came back, but not alone. I was standing in the kitchen, pouring myself some lukewarm coffee, when I heard the unmistakable sound of claws scraping against glass. Not a bird, not a raccoon. I turned slowly. My heart genuinely stuttered in my chest. She was there, front paws raised against the glass door, amber eyes locked on mine. In her mouth dangled a tiny cub, its head wobbling gently as she held it by the scruff. I didn't breathe, not out of fear, but because it didn't feel real. This was the same lynx I saw yesterday on the edge of the woods, the same emaciated, injured creature who had devoured the chicken thighs I left by the shed. I had no idea she was a mother, but here she was, with a baby. She stared at me for a few more seconds, then gently placed the cub on my porch mat. Not moving, just left it there. She gave a soft grunt, turned, and vanished into the trees. What the hell just happened? I opened the door, stepped out slowly. The cub mewled, eyes barely open, legs awkwardly twitching. It looked no older than a few weeks. It wasn't injured, but it was clearly exhausted. I wrapped it in my flannel and brought it inside. My hands trembled. I laid it down in an old cardboard box filled with towels. I sat beside it for over an hour, watching it breathe, watching it live. Exactly 1 hour later, she returned. Same posture, same slow, deliberate movements. Second cub, and I swear to you, this one was even smaller. Same routine. She placed it beside the first and disappeared. I didn't follow. I just stood there, watching those little fur balls tremble under my table. At this point, I was pacing. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no experience with wild animals, let alone orphaned lynx kittens. I searched my phone for hours, reading forums, reaching out to wildlife rehab centers. Most were closed or overwhelmed. By the time the third arrived, it was raining. Not a drizzle. A summer storm, sudden and loud. She arrived soaked, panting, favoring her right leg. The third cub was limp in her jaws, but breathing. She dropped it off, but this time didn't immediately leave. She lingered at the glass door, her fur matted to her sides, her ribs more visible than ever. I opened the door just a crack. She didn't move. Her eyes didn't plead. They demanded, but not out of aggression. It was something deeper, heavier. She had given up. Whatever she'd been holding on to, strength, instinct, pride, she was laying it down. Right here, with me. I stepped back, gave her room, but she didn't enter. She simply turned and walked into the darkness. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept expecting her to return, maybe to take them back, or maybe never come back at all. The cubs cried, softly at first, then louder. I boiled some water, let it cool, tried mixing powdered goat milk I had for emergencies. It wasn't perfect, but it kept them from starving. I set up a small lamp near the box to keep them warm. I checked on them every 15 minutes. I talked to them quietly, unsure why, but it felt right. The next morning, I called Kevin, the local game warden. He sighed heavily. "You should have left her alone from the start," he said. "She brought them to me, one by one." He paused. "Lynx don't do that." "Well, this one did." He told me not to interfere further, that the state protocol was to observe from afar, and if the mother didn't return, let nature take its course. I hung up. No way in hell. 2 days passed. No sign of her. I tried to stay logical, told myself she might come back when it was safe. But the look in her eyes haunted me. She wasn't planning to come back. On the third night, a storm rolled in. Lightning lit up the yard. One of the cubs cried louder than usual. I reached for the box they slept in. Only 2 were there. Panic. I tore through the house. Then outside. Rain lashed my face. I slipped on wet moss, cursed out loud. The porch was empty. I found the third cub about 20 yards from the house, near the tree line. Shivering. Alone. And right next to it, her. The mother lynx. Lying on her side, barely breathing. I didn't think. I just acted. I scooped up the cub, then bent to her. She growled. Weakly, but made no attempt to move. Her paw twitched. Her eyes blinked slowly. I stayed there for a long moment, rain soaking us both. I wanted to scream. She had dragged herself back here, half dead, to try and stay close. Maybe to make sure I was caring for them. Or maybe just because she had nowhere else to go. I whispered, "I got them. I promise." I stood. She watched me walk away. In the morning, she was gone. No tracks. No blood. Nothing. Like the forest swallowed her. Weeks passed. The cubs got stronger. One had a slight limp, but still climbed furniture like a maniac. I tried not to name them, but that never works. So they became Midge, Jasper, and Echo. I built them a secure enclosure outside, lined with natural branches, logs, climbing spots. They played endlessly, fought, slept in a pile. I spoke with a wildlife rehabber 2 towns over. She said she'd never heard of a lynx surrendering her young like that, especially not to a human. But she also said something else. Maybe she chose the only option left. Maybe she watched you before. Maybe she knew. I didn't have a response to that. 2 months later, late evening, I saw something on the ridge. Far off, silhouetted by the setting sun. She stood there, still thin, still a shadow, but alive. She looked down at the house, at her cubs. Then she turned and disappeared into the trees. I didn't follow, because I didn't need to. She knew they were safe. And maybe, just maybe, she'd finally found her peace. Now, every few days, I hear a soft rustle near the edge of the woods. I don't see her, but I know she's there, watching, checking in. The cubs pause, sniff the air, then go back to playing. They still remember. And somehow, I think she does too. Sometimes I wonder if she had been watching me long before that first encounter. Maybe she had seen me tending the garden, sitting alone on the porch, fixing the broken fence without ever disturbing her space. Maybe she knew I wouldn't hurt her. It's strange how life works. How one act of kindness, a few pieces of raw chicken on a quiet afternoon, can turn into a life-changing bond. One that doesn't need words, or touch, or even presence. Just trust. And now, in the stillness of early mornings, when the dew clings to the grass and the birds begin their songs, I sometimes sit quietly with my coffee, listening, waiting, for her shadow on the ridge, for the faintest rustle in the trees, for a miracle that started with hunger and became something much more.